Hi, good afternoon. It's Valerie Milano. I'm the senior editor of the Hollywood Times, and we have Julia here. We'll be talking about her short film, Dragonfly. So I'm going to have her introduce herself. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Hi, I'm Julia Morizawa, and I'm the writer, producer, director of the animated short film Dragonfly.
Yes, she is, and this is one that ripped my heart out.
Mm,
It's the story of the bombing of Tokyo in 1945 by the United States using the napalm-filled bombs that killed more than 100,000 people. Such an emotional film with a gentle ending, with the ghost of the young brother's son becoming the dragonfly. Just a beautiful film. Um,
thank you.
we know the story itself is inspired by your maternal grandparents' story, but what moved you to tell the story of the event of the bombing of Tokyo, palm-filled bombs?
Yeah, I think ultimately what sort of inspired me was the fact that I didn't know about the Tokyo firebombing until I was sort of moved to research it because I had heard that my maternal grandparents had survived some sort of fire in Tokyo during that time. Otherwise, I had never heard of it, and I wouldn't have heard of it or learned of it if I didn't, take a minute to actually Google what kind of big fire could have happened in Tokyo during that time. And part of that is sort of this experience with myself and then also my mom, who I've subsequently interviewed since in the process of making this film, of how her parents never told her about what life was like for them before she was born, and how getting my mom to tell me about her life before I was born is similarly like just pulling teeth, like just getting that sort of history that is so important to maintain and pass down and educate others on. But there's that sort of tradition of like generationally just not sharing our stories, which makes sense, right? These are traumatic stories. So of course it's natural to not talk about them, but that sort of loss of your family history. And that this film is sort of me like, oh, I don't want to lose that part of my family history or history in general. So let me kind of put it into a film that sort of makes it permanent, a permanent freeze frame of this moment in time for now.
And in Japanese culture and tradition, is there a particular meaning, a spiritual meaning of the dragonfly?
There is there's a few, but traditionally, as far as what I've researched, it represents transformation, sort of rebirth, which is a theme I tackle in the film, but also at some point, I'm not going to try and guess at what time in history. At some point, the dragonfly, and maybe it still is, was very representative of sort of this powerful, almost like a war, to represent war, because it flies so quickly. And then also, what I had read at some point is that it never retreats, it always pushes forward. So there's sort of a power in that as well. And then it's also representative of farming, which is an important environment in the film because they tend to live around sort of wet areas like rice paddies and farms in Japan, but mainly transformation and rebirth.
The animation is so simple yet extremely emotive. The scenes depicting the fire from the bombs was particularly effective. Tell us how you and the animator collaborated on the film to make the depiction so moving and precise.
Oh, it was so my animation director, Maria Martelinero, she's been with me on this project since 2019. We met in person like twice back in 2019, and ever since then, we've been working on this film remotely. And she did an amazing job bringing in her skill and her perspective with basically what I gave to her was like a Bible or like a pitch deck with just cutouts of other animated films, just going online and making sort of like a mood board, right? And all these visuals of what I wanted to look it to look like. And the one thing I knew early on, when I first brought her on board, was color for the stuff set in 1956, and sort of either looking probably like watercolor or some kind of painting, and very sort of like Miyazaki inspired with the landscapes. And then with the 1945 stuff, the idea to put it in black and white and have it either look more like pencil or ink or charcoal was basically the ideas that I gave her early on. And then she just ran with that, with her skill and what she could do. And you know, it it was a big project. It was her and our lead animator, Eva Benitez, who basically did everything. We had a little bit of help toward the end, but for the most part, for like a good chunk of at least like 2 years, it was really two women on the team that were doing the hard labor of the animation.
Excuse me, the music also was so perfect. Did Aiko compose the music especially for this film?
Yes, yes, and she did it in about 2 weeks. um,
Whoa.
because we were trying to reach a deadline for the premiere, which was in May, and I needed to send off deliverables, and Picture Lock was like pushing right up against that deadline. So honestly, I think she did it in about, I think it was 2 weeks. She composed
But
everything. Yeah,
I mean, yeah, I know it was a 10-minute film about, right? And
yeah.
but 2 weeks, that's still pretty quick.
Yeah, it was impressive. And it was very much, again, remote. We had one or two meetings, watching the Picture Lock edit and talking online. And then she just kind of went with it and she'd send me stuff back. And I would say like 85% of the time I was like, yep, that's great. You did it. You nailed it. First try. Great.
Uh,
Yeah.
Good. Well, likewise, the voice actors, were just right. You and Erica, Mia, and Thomas, and yeah, were so understated in your voice talents
Mm.
as to be almost incidental. I mean, you all blended into the soft soundtrack so well. Are these actors with whom you were familiar with before this film?
Yes. The main actors that you listed, I'd worked with everyone directly at some point prior to working on this film, except I think Erica, who I had maybe met. I was familiar with her work and maybe had met in person and chatted with once. And that was it. But she, even around the time, I think that we did voiceover production on this film, which was 2019, her career really like exploded. She's like a very notable voice actor now, largely known for her work in video games.
Oh,
So like she's just like gone off. She's just gone off. Um, uh, and yeah, I had worked with Mia on a fiction podcast previously, which was funny. A fiction podcast called Super Ordinary, and one day while recording that, she was just messing around with one of my other cast members, and they were talking like little kids. And I just remember being like, "Huh? Who's that?" And I was like, "You can do a little kid voice really well," and just reaching out to her. Uh, I think the only thing that I did confirm with people, I think through an email before just casting them based off of knowing them, is whether or not they identified as Japanese or Japanese American in their heritage, because that was important to me for this film, and they all did. So
there anything else you want to tell us about the film or about anything that maybe you're working on or thinking about working on?
the Dragonfly is still very much in the forefront of my schedule and
Okay.
mind, because we're still pushing for a festival circuit, probably
Yes.
for the next year or so. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
And I do have another project in development, and it's probably a little early to say, but why not? So the paternal side of my family heritage story, so my dad's side of the family, uh, they were in the US. So his grandparents, or sorry, my grandparents, his parents actually met at Heart Mountain internment camp during World War II. So I have a story, a short script that I'm working on that is actually intended to be live action, that's set in the internment camp to sort of explore. I think it'll mostly be his father, my grandfather. Um, so that's the next thing to kind of balance it out. I have a symmetrical plan here, so yeah.
You're doing the film festival circuit, and so you're going to be in Los Angeles for the next one, right? For La
Yeah,
Femme?
this weekend. Yep.
Yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah,
coming up
I'll be there.
fast.
I know. It's already October. It might as well be 2024.
I know, right? I know this year. So hopefully we'll get to meet there.
Yeah.
How can our viewers and our readers find you? Do you have a website, your social media?
Yeah, I have my website is just my name, juliamorizawa.com. The film has a website, dragonflyshortfilm.com. And then you can find me on social media, mostly Instagram, Twitter, at Julia Morizawa.
Great, great, great. Well, we'll be promoting it, and I just appreciate your time. And we are the Hollywood Times today, and our YouTube channel, which the interview will be a part of, as well as on the article, the review, is the Hollywood Times Official. So, Julia, thank you again, and I look forward to hopefully seeing you in person at the
Yes,
film festival.
this weekend. Thank you. Thank
Great,
you so
thank
much.
you so much. And your film is quite amazing, so keep up the great work.
Thank you. I
All
appreciate
right.
that.